There we are.
All right, everybody, smile because I think we are
Yes,
live.
we
We
are
are
live.
live. We are live on Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on this beautiful Tuesday night, March 31st. Again, Charlie and Mel with our Facebook Live. And tonight we have a very, very, very special guest, Chief Todd Raybuck. How are you doing, Chief?
I'm doing great, Mel. Thanks for inviting me on. Hi, Charlie. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine. Good to see you, Chief. Good to see you.
You too.
As you can see, we are all practicing social distancing. I'm here in Wailua House Lots. Charlie, you are in
the land that time forgot. Yes, Waimea.
that would be Waimea. And Chief?
I'm in an undisclosed location.
Well, we're gonna have some fun tonight. We're gonna get serious. We're gonna have some fun, but we brought the chief on tonight to talk a little bit about what's going on as far as the law enforcement, Quiet Police Department. And first of all, Chief, let me say we appreciate what you and your men and women are doing. I mean, hats off to you guys. You guys continue to impress. Considering the circumstances, the COVID, and then the huge flood we just had, you guys answered the call and continue to do so. Just want to say thank you very much for all that you guys are doing. Today, somewhat a sad day in the state. You know, our numbers for Kauai, you know, we're doing it here. We're holding the numbers down, but you know, today, unfortunately, 20 new cases in the state, 1 death reported or recorded. So it's kind of bittersweet that you know we're trying to do everything we can statewide, and yet and we knew this was coming. It's inevitable if you follow the trends throughout the country and more so the world, but it's bound to happen. And you know, Honolulu has got their first one, and we want to try to not let that happen here on Kauai. And that's why Charlie and I have decided that we're going to do this every single night. We have been doing this off and on for quite a while, pounding into the people via these Facebook Lives as well as our posts to basically stay at home. Stay at home. You don't have to go out if you don't. You don't need to go out if you don't have to. And social distancing, washing your hands, and all of the things that the mayor and our governor has told us to do to protect the whole island and the whole state, not just yourselves. So we're going to do this every night, Chief. Every single night, we're going to pound and pound and pound, and hopefully we get the message across. Again, the numbers are one thing. The estimate today out of the White House, they're projecting 100 to 240,000 deaths in the United States of America, which we are a part of. So it would be really ridiculous to think that Hawaii is not going to be impacted, and we will. But we can flatten the curve sooner than later if we practice social distancing and all of the rules. And you know, Charlie, I don't know how much more we can pound. Last night, Chief, I don't know if you watched, but last night we said the harsh messages ain't working, the fines ain't working, nothing's working. So we figured we're going to ask you to deputize us as COVID inspectors.
Yes.
And then when we catch these violators of quarantine or stay-at-home orders, they will be forced to spend 24 hours with Charlie and I.
In your kitchen.
In our kitchen,
yes.
Yeah.
Maybe that will get the point across.
Wait a minute. I've seen Patsy's baking and cooking recently. That might not be punishment. I think that I might need to be restricted to your kitchen based upon what I'm seeing.
Oh, by the way, Chief, she actually has you're on the list for some reason. You know, she made cookies the other day and took it out to the EOC, delivered it out to those hardworking men and women. You know, I gotta say, you know, the mayor's done an excellent job in being a leader, in making bold decisions.
Yes.
And you know, we definitely appreciate the youngest mayor in the state, but making the boldest decisions in the state, and we're lucky to have that. So Patsy on her own made 2 boxes of cookies and took it to EOC and shared it with them. So she told me that she has a box for you as well.
Well, thank you. I've been
peanut butter or oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip.
Listen, I'll eat anything. Chewy peanut butter though, with a little bit of milk is bomb.
All right, so you know, I think that's a great segue into. Nobody likes to hear the word enforcement, but we need to be serious about, even the mayor said, we had him on our Facebook Live the other day. He said, you know, I'm being very generous by allowing people to go to the beach. I'm golfing. But he said, I love it when he said it. He goes, keep abusing it and I'll clip it. I love that. He said, I'll clip it. So we need to get people to listen. Unfortunately, some people don't listen. And that's where you come in, Chief. So I'm going to turn this over to you and you can give us an overview of what is KPD's function? What are you guys doing? How does the enforcement occur? And where do we go from here?
Well, thanks, Mel. Before I begin, I just want to thank you and Charlie and the guests that you've been having on lately that have been talking about this issue. As we know, depending on what news channel you watch, what newspaper you read, and what internet meme you look at, there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of back and forth. And the reality is this is very serious. But before I begin, I want to thank you for keeping this topic alive. And you mentioned the floods and you mentioned the officers and everybody, the first responders that have been out on the front lines with this. I just want to recognize the men and women of the Kauai Police Department, my dispatchers who have been fielding calls like you cannot believe, both because of the COVID virus, but also because of the floods. My first responders, the officers that are out there, our officers, not mine, they're our officers. They work for our community, and this is your police department. They are out there dealing with everything that they're trying to do on the COVID front. And in the meantime, they're responding to floods and evacuating people and keeping people safe on the roadways. And I just want to thank them and throw my appreciation out to them because they're concerned as well. They have family members. They're watching the news and they recognize how serious this is. And yet they come to work every single day with great positive attitudes, displaying a lot of professionalism out there, contacting our community and reminding them about how serious this is. And of course, we wouldn't be where we were today if it wasn't for the healthcare providers, our nurses, our doctors, our medical staff, all those folks that are always doing their best to serve our community and keep us healthy and bringing us back to working order. Now they're overwhelmed with responding to this. The reality is that, we live in an unfortunate situation where this is a new virus and we don't know exactly all of the particulars with it, which makes it even more troubling. But anybody with a runny nose and a scratchy throat now is panicking that they might have COVID. And so we just need to get the facts. And I continue to say, as I've said on my own social media page, a message from a friend isn't a fact. Go to the CDC and look it up. Go to the County of Kauai's webpage and look it up. Go to KPD's social media and look it up and ask us for the answers. So what is KPD doing? Well, I got to be honest that this county was very, very fortunate. Both the managing director, Mike DeHelig, and I had the opportunity, thanks to Elton, our KEMA director, Elton Oshiro. He nominated us both to go over to the Big Island and attend a week-long Pacific Executive Leadership program that was put on through the Department of Homeland Security through the Naval Postgraduate School. And that week was very, very mind-opening for us. We had representatives from all disciplines, both the private sector, government, military, and we spoke for a week about the challenges that we face in all kinds of disasters. And we had folks from Guam and Saipan and all over the Pacific. And one of the most important discussions we had was we had a gentleman there by the name of Tom Bossert. And Tom Bossert was a Homeland Security advisor to both George W. Bush, as well as for about 18 months under Trump and a very short time under President Obama. And Tom Bossert was the one that a few weeks before the rest of the state started to recognize what we were really in for, educated us all and told us this is serious. And the managing director got on the phone with the mayor right away and said, listen, you're going to think this is crazy. You're going to think that we're blowing this out of proportion. But we're hearing it right now from somebody who's providing us information, who's been at the highest levels of government, who has contacts all over the globe with science, with scientists, with doctors, with epidemiologists that are studying this. And if we don't get ahead of this, we will be fighting a curve like we've seen everywhere else. And kudos to the managing director, Mike DeHelig, and Mayor Kawakami. they took that conversation seriously. And we implemented it as soon as we got home. We started discussing what steps we needed to take. And as you mentioned in your opening, we have a very bold mayor that this county is fortunate to have at this moment for this time, because he's made some unpopular decisions for some people. He's taken some hits by some people, as I have. But if we're going to get through this together, I said on my social media as well, if everybody likes your decisions, you probably didn't make one.
I love that.
So Mayor Kawakami's been making the tough decisions. And I believe, and I think that the state is witnessing the model of how we need to do things. And so what do? You know that the mayor put in the curfew. In that curfew, the purpose of that curfew was to, number one, as he mentioned, take some of the pressure off of our first responders. A lot of bad things happen after night. Drunk drivers, all kinds of things. And that taxes our resources. And so the mayor recognized very early on that this is going to be a long game. And so we needed to start protecting our resources and eliminating some of the strain that's put on them, as well as communicating an important message to this community that this is serious. Doing a curfew is not taken lightly. And let me make sure that people understand that this is not martial law, okay? We don't have the military in here taking over police powers. The martial law means that the military has taken over police authority because the police department is not in control. We are in complete and 100% full control. And so the curfew is to restrict movement, to try to reduce the spread and to flatten the curve. And so we've implemented that. We saw some really great gains with curfew in the early days. What I want to come on here tonight and talk about, the same thing about what we're seeing at the checkpoints, is we can't be lulled into this false sense of security. I think, as you've said many times in your program, that because our numbers aren't going up, somehow we don't have anything to worry about. The opposite is true. We need to continue doing it, because if we don't, we will get swept out quickly, like a rogue wave, and it will consume us if we don't continue to buckle down. And you'll see KPD, as you've seen, doing checkpoints. We are going to go increase those checkpoints. And I got to be honest with you. Let's be real. The mayor's been incredibly generous with allowing people exceptions for travel. And he's done that because he absolutely understands that, and this is my opinion, not that I'm speaking for him, because this is a difficult time for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And to just completely shut down a lifestyle that we've all been accustomed to is traumatic for all of us. And so I think he's recognized that. And what he's tried to do is be very, very fair with what he has allowed people to have for exceptions, going to the beach, surfing, fishing, doing those kinds of things. But as he said on your program, and as I'm telling you right now, is what we're starting to see is people being lulled into this sense of, everything's going to be okay. This is kind of a joke. And I know all the excuses now of why I can be out. So I'll just go to checkpoint and make one. And we're not going to tolerate that. We can't, for the health and safety of our community. And so you'll see some increased enforcement. We started out providing some warnings. As you've seen, we've written 7 citations. We gave a citation to a business owner who intentionally said that they were not going to comply with the mayor's order. We wrote a citation and let her know that, some people need a verbal warning and some people need a written reminder. And if it takes the written reminder, we're going to write it. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to write a single ticket. I don't want to make a single arrest. What I want is for people to comply with what the governor and the mayor have asked for, because you both were in law enforcement, and you know that we won't arrest our way out of this. We won't ticket our way out of this. It takes everybody's individual responsibility to own this so that we can get through it together.
I think, law enforcement, people in law enforcement, we think differently, I think, than a lot of people. And it's just a different perspective. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. It's a good way of putting it. The only way we're going to get through this is by doing what we're told to do. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why people aren't addressing that, why they're not listening. You know, I talk to some police officers and they say, you know, you go to the roadblock, and then we've seen it on Facebook where people say, hey, if you get stopped by a cop, just tell them you're going fishing. Just tell them you're going fishing. You know, I was joking last night. I was telling Charlie, if I was a cop, you know what? I said, perfect. Where are you going? I'm going to wherever. Well, I'll follow you, and follow them to the beach. You know, these guys are, and they're making a joke of it. You know, when this all started, the only people that had to really worry were old and sick. And now we're finding out that's not true. We had the death on Oahu. It was an elderly guy, but we got two young guys that's fighting for their lives on Oahu right now. Young. And I mean, in 37 and probably around 50. 50 is still young in my opinion. But this is serious, and we got to keep pounding. Now, Chief, you guys did make an arrest today. I don't know how much. I saw the press release, so it is public record. It's all over the news. I don't know how much more you can add, but if you wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, so actually that arrest came via a tip from a citizen that was aware of that person was supposed to be quarantined and he was not. And so we followed up on it and located him out and about, and he was arrested for flaunting that curfew law, the quarantine law. And so, you know, he's innocent until proven guilty, obviously. He has every right. I know that there's a lot of comments on social media about what we should have done and what needs to be done and things like that. And the reality is look, as I said before, we're not in martial law. And we still have thank goodness, we still have a Constitution of the United States. And so, you know, people are entitled to bail and people are entitled to free movement. We can restrict it. We can put penalties associated with it. But you know, you can't bury somebody in a jail cell because they violate a law. They have the rights to bail, just like anybody else. And so I can just tell you that, because there were some questions about, well, how do we know he did what he said he was going to do? Because we made sure he did it. You said following people. We ensured that that person went where they were supposed to go and were advised that they needed to stay there. And so everybody knows that hotels have been incredibly helpful with us. Many of them are shutting down. They're not even accepting guests. And so, you know, we had a couple of visitors that arrived on island just a couple of days ago or a day or two ago, and the hotel refused to let them check in. We made contact with them, told them they had 14 days to quarantine. And since they had nowhere to quarantine, that they were at risk of going to jail. They went to the airport, got a ticket, and flew home.
Oh.
So, you know, it's what we're doing and what the mayor's doing is being effective. But I want to talk about something because we get lost on the tourists all the time. You know, there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of anger. I get it all day long. I get the private messages. I get the text messages about the tourists. Look at the numbers, folks. The numbers are, just like you said, Mel, and you post every day, and I appreciate it. The numbers are that the majority of us who are sick are actually residents, Aina. And so if we want to keep blaming the tourists as the boogeyman, we better wake up from that nightmare and realize that it's us. We are the ones that are at greatest risk. And what the mayor is working so hard to do, Dr. Behrman from the Department of Health and her, Lauren, and I can't think of Lauren's last name at the moment, but they've been in the EOC with us constantly. And the entire EOC has been working with, fire department, HEMA, the Department of Health, everybody that's all the decision makers. The mayor has been there 7 days a week for 10 to 12 hours a day, every day, making sure this community is well aware. We're working hard, but we got to remember and realize we are the ones that are going to be the carriers and cause the problems. When this begins community spread, if we don't take this seriously, forget about it. My greatest fear in this whole thing is that we live in a community with multi-generational housing where many members of the same family live in the same house, multi-generational. And so all it takes is some healthy young person to contract this disease, this virus, and go home and infect their grandparents. And we got some serious problems. You saw that horrible story out of New Jersey where almost 4 or 5 family members died as a result of COVID. This is serious, folks. We got to take it seriously.
They were young. They
Very young.
The grandma and the dog. I mean, they were young.
Yeah.
Horrific. I know, Charlie, you mentioned the Honolulu Fire Department, and Chief, you obviously haven't had any, thank God, any cases yet of any first responders contracting this horrific virus, but Honolulu's, their first responders are starting to experience that, because obviously you guys are in the front line. You guys are out there dealing with people coming through the checkpoints. By the way, I'm going through some comments, and only positive comments. You're gonna have to go back afterwards and go through the comments, because there's a lot of somebody went through the Koloa checkpoint and said it was nothing but aloha from your guys. So
thank you.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good information, and there's also some questions. But Charlie, you talked about the fire department in Honolulu.
Yes. Yes.
Horrible. Go ahead, Charlie.
Well, the only thing that, as first responders, we run the risk. It's like anything else. You run the risk, and you don't know when it's. I call the virus the boogeyman. It's not, for me. It's not the tourist. It's the virus itself, because it's with me. It hits home, and I'm trying to understand it. But with the first responders, like the fire department today, I saw them disinfecting. They had the hazmat team going there to do their shoot down, and I was just curious, because watching on the news, as the hazmat came out, the other firefighters that was deconning them, they weren't wearing anything. They just had these sprayers, and they were like exposed. And I went, ooh, that's the first thing I said to myself. But then I said, I'm not a fireman, so there's got to be a reason why they weren't suited up to work on a decon. And
so, Charlie, if I could address that.
Yeah.
I can't speak to what the protocol was for Hawaii Fire or Honolulu Fire and what they did or didn't do. But we've get a stream of comments about our folks on the checkpoint, why they're not wearing this, why they should be doing this and not doing that. And the reality is that we have sat down with Dr. Berriman from the Department of Health and reviewed the CDC guidelines for the work that they are doing and the amount of potential exposure that they are confronting. They are doing exactly what the Department of Health and the CDC have told them to do. Okay, so I do appreciate a lot of people voice their concerns about, why aren't they wearing masks and why don't they do this or do that? They're doing and following the guidelines that the Department of Health said, based upon the work that they are doing. They are well equipped to do that without risk of being contacted by or contracting the virus.
Do you think now, because of what New York is facing and their first responders, do you think that those rules may change because they've seen a lot of first responders getting infected? Do you think the CDC will start making it a different game plan now?
I can't speak for the CDC, Charlie, because as I mentioned, there's so much we don't know about this, and the scientists are learning more about it every single day. I'll tell you what my greatest fear is. If you watch what's happened in New York with the first responders, the police department, in Detroit with the police department there, their own police chief has COVID. I have to be honest, that's been my greatest fear, is that somehow with all the interaction that I do and I've done and the traveling I've done leading into this, that somehow I contracted COVID, and then that would be the headline. But, you look at what's going around, and my biggest fear is this. If we see community spread occurring in this community, which thank goodness we have not, if we see it, because we let our foot off the gas, we got comfortable, and we didn't make sacrifices, it's going to ravage the police department and our healthcare industry. And we could see 20 to 30 to 40% declines in personnel. What I'm worried about, I have to think long-term strategy. I have to think not what's happening today, but what's happening next week, next month, and into the next few months. And what worries me most is what are my force numbers going to look like? What are the fire department's numbers going to look like? What are the healthcare professionals' numbers going to look like if we get community spread here and I have 20%, 30% of my force that's stuck at home either because they're quarantined or they're sick themselves? We will not be able to provide essential services. You compound that with the fact that the reality is, unfortunately, many people are being laid off from their jobs. We haven't even begun to feel the significant financial impact. I know that people are hurting already, but wait until they've had to go a month or 2 months without a paycheck. And, hopefully the government will be able to help sustain that, and we'll get some help there. But, I'm very concerned about how to protect this island and the people here if we don't do our part early and we start seeing what other agencies and what other cities and towns have seen across America.
Okay, Chief, one last question I had. I heard you say you attended that class on the Big Island. And it seems, and I have to believe this, and I'll say right now because I told Mel that, if I'm wrong, I'm going to say I'm wrong. And I'm going to say it now again. I was one of the biggest critics of the mayor, what he did, because, when it's not fully explained why you do a certain thing, it's easy to jump on the bandwagon and say, well, if you want to curb this thing, why you make the curfew at this time? Because everybody's moving around at daytime, that type of thing. But I'm pretty sure you folks picked up tips from that class on how to approach. So having said that, and, please forgive me if I gave you the impression that I know you can't speak for the CDC, but and I'm banking on the fact with the amount of followers that we have. I want this to come out so they kind of understand the mindset, the thought process that goes into what you folks are doing. Because up until this time, everybody's left. And a lot of it was due to the fact of misinformation coming up from the high up, not you folks, but from the state. So everybody's gravitating towards a calming voice with sense. So at that point, we started to see that most people weren't believing some of the information put out. So that's why I'm glad you're on today. So you said about that class, I'm going to get to that right now. What do you think caused and I know you can't speak for the governor, but it kind of, what you said and what the state did, and I understand what Mayor Kawakami now has done, which is basically leading the state. I'm just kind of baffled, and there's many of the viewers out there that are baffled why, number one, if there's any state people at that meeting that you folks went to, that class, and why, I know it's a loaded question to ask you, but it seems like you and Mike were able to pick up on it, but it just seems like the state didn't pick up on it. I'm just curious, what do you think maybe some of the pitfalls that could be?
Charlie, that's a really great question. And as I told Mel, I'm not going to wander into the politics of decision making.
No, it's not the politics. I guess, was there
here's what I'll tell you, Charlie. Here's what I'll tell you. This is very complicated. It's been very complicated for me in my police department. My executive staff and I have been working nonstop. 12, 14-hour days throughout the entire weekend. I don't know what day of the week it is. My staff doesn't know what day of the week it is. We don't, the last 2 weeks, it felt like 2 months to us. And I'm not asking for sympathy or anything like that, or asking for a pat on the back. All I'm trying to say is that the reason why I tell you that is there's no roadmap. There's no script to go back to and say, you know what, here's what we should do when we should do it. And I think that's the problem in a lot of areas right now is what's the right thing to do and when, because every decision you make has a consequence. And I think sometimes it's more difficult to make. In fact, I don't think sometimes in this situation in particular, it's very difficult to make a decision when you don't know what all the answers may be as a result of your decision. And so, I'll go back to Mayor Kawakami and just say that we're fortunate that he's bold enough to make the decisions. And I don't mean to say that in any way of saying that the other political leaders haven't been bold. I'm just saying for our county specifically, which I will speak to, is we're fortunate to have a mayor that's willing to take the bold decisions. He weighs everything out. I can tell you, we've had some very challenging conversations. And what I love about what we're talking about is, in the end, we're going to make some bad decisions. And we might go back in hindsight and go, you know what, maybe that was too much or that was too little. But the one thing that we all agree on is we're making decisions because we believe that we have to save lives. And that's what the mayor is focused on. That's why he's spending 7 days a week in EOC. That's why the chemist staff is in there 7 days a week. That's why my folks in fire are in there 7 days a week, why the Department of Health is in there 7 days a week, because we're working to save lives, and we just need our community to be our partners and help us save lives. And they can do it easily. They don't have to put in the 14-hour days. All they have to do is be a little bit more uncomfortable, okay? I'm just asking people to get to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because I can tell you, unfortunately, when my father was alive, he had to be on a respirator, and he was on a respirator for 7 days. There is nothing comfortable about that. It's horrible. If anybody's ever experienced it, and Charlie, I know I've been praying for your brother. I know he's in that same situation. There is absolutely 100% nothing comfortable about being in or on a respirator. And if the numbers are correct, we only have 18 of them in this state. And you look at what's going on in New York, and they have 58,000 respirators, and they're saying they may need 200,000. So come on, Kauai. First and foremost, I love you guys. The reception that my family and I have gotten from this community, I feel like I've lived here a lifetime because of the generosity and warmness and aloha that has been shared with us. I love you guys, and we're all working really, really hard. I don't want to come in here and be a naysayer and be negative Nelly, because I know that people are making sacrifices, and I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for how you've responded to my police officers, our police officers. I have a bad habit of that. They're our police officers. They're your police officers. Thank you for how you've been treating our first responders. And just all I ask is do your part. We have to do our part. I would love to see zeros every single day for the next 21 days. Next 21 days, let's make it a goal to have a zero every day on Kauai. And I think we can get through this.
Thank you very much, Chief. And Mel, I think what our viewers are hearing, they now can understand the process, because like you and I, we've been getting all these messages. You know, Chief, just today alone on private messaging, I've got over 200 messages. And I told Mel prior to coming on air, I said, how do you answer them all? I said, but, you know, having people like yourself, you know, in a, figureheads such as yourself, maybe one day we ask the newly appointed fire chief to come on and explain their role, so people kind of get an understanding. So now they, you know, like they said, they're getting it straight from the horse's mouth. It's not going sideways. You're getting it straight as we are live. So I want to say thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate it very, very much.
Thanks, Charlie.
You know, I know earlier I mentioned the projection of 100,000 to 240,000 deaths in the United States. The caveat to that is that is if we practice social distancing. If we don't, that number is going to be significantly higher. The exponential growth of this virus, the exposure of this virus is beyond what any of us can imagine. And I know, Chief, you talked about how uncomfortable it is for that person on the respirator. And I know, and we could tell by your voice how uncomfortable it was for you to watch your dad on a respirator. And that's where I think, I don't understand. I posted the other day, do you not care for your families that much? Do you not care for your children that much to go out and blatantly disobey the curfew and the quarantine and the stay at home? You know, I know people are going to stop watching us because we're pounding this in, but I don't know how else to do it. I mean, like you said, we're not arresting our way out of this. We're not. You could arrest. It's not going to matter. It's individual responsibility that we got to do, and every one of us has to do it.
No, as you look down for your next question, let me just jump in, because the last 36 minutes, we've been talking about some pretty grim and pretty serious things. And the last thing I wanted to do was come on here and create fear in our community, because fear exists when you don't have a plan and when you're not preparing and putting precautions in place. And so there's a lot of unsettling challenges that we have before us, but I don't want us to be afraid, because we're in control. We really are. We are in control as long as we all make the right decisions. That's all. So I don't want this community to be fearful. It's overwhelmingly concerning for me because I look at what's happening in other communities. You talk about, I ran the numbers for the White House to come out and say that as many as 200,000 people could die. I would imagine that is a low estimate. And so if they came out and said that, I ran the numbers, and that could be as many as 2,000 people in the United States every day dying from COVID. If you look at what's happening in Italy, that's 350 or 400 people every single day dying from COVID. Put those numbers in perspective. But I only say what I'm saying, not because I want to create fear, but for the opposite. I want this community to realize why this is serious and that we can change this. We can flatten the curve, and we are. And so thank you for that. Thank you so much. We are freaking. Whoops. We are leading the way. I wasn't going to say the bad word.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. I mean,
but we are doing fantastic, Kauai. So keep up the great work, but we can do better. And that's what I wanted to come on here today and say. We can do better. I went to the office for a very short time today, and the traffic on the road looks like it did pre-checkpoints. and I got to be honest with you, you're not going to like me because we're going to make it a little bit more difficult to travel. Not because we're gonna make it where you can't get where you're going, but with the limited travel now, the roads are clear and everybody's just scooting all around wherever they want to go. And as you said, people know the excuses and they're using them. I just got to ask for honesty, and let's be Pono about this. And did I do that right, Charlie?
You did it. I love you for that. But you know what? I want to commend you on. You have the ability to stop yourself before you go into that dark spot in what you're about to say. And I've got to take classes from you because I've been in a position where, Charlie, stop. No, I'm not, So I just want to say you use that word very, very, I call it religiously because I can feel your compassion. That's what Mel and I have been trying to pound into to help our citizens because why? We love Kauai. This is our home. If this is what we know as mankind, and if we don't do it right, it'll be extinct. I guarantee it'll be extinct, and we won't. Life will never be the same. And I cry when I think about that. As you said, I am facing this battle that I believe in miracles, but then I also am real. And if things turn, I got to be prepared. And that's what I'm battling with. And that's why I get angry when people, if we can just sacrifice now, we'll be able to enjoy later. And I think that's your message.
Right.
But we don't know why, but coming on air tonight, Chief, I strongly believe, and Mel, you've got the comments coming in. I think you'll definitely make an impression so people understand and they don't second guess. Because right up until this point, when you're scared, you imagine things. When you're scared, you'll think of things that you think you heard, and it's almost like when I teach the CPR classes. If you think you felt the pulse, probably you didn't, because if you got to think that hard. And this virus is going to affect us. But I think like you said, if we all do our part and we get the message out and get it out right, coming straight from the horse's mouth, I think it'll be easier for everyone to accept. And hopefully those who are tuning in tonight will see that. And I thank you, Chief. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the bottom line is we got to get the word out. I mean, we think we have the word out, but it's obvious that it's not. And I think there's a couple of comments that I came by that there were people that were on the road, saw a lot of cars on the road. And again, it's not like we're asking people to do 100 push-ups a day and 100 sit-ups a day and go run 5 miles down the road. This is stay in your house 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a little longer, and then we go back to normal. But the longer we take to get on the other side of this curve, the longer it's going to be. And that's the part I don't get, Chief. I don't get it. I'm gonna pop in a few questions because first, do I need a permission slip to drive to and from work? The county, we talked about this last night, recommends that you have a note from. It's not a requirement right now. Maybe it will be one day, but right now, have your employer write you a note. You're an essential worker, so when you get stopped in the checkpoint, just show the officer your note and you're on your way. Makes it a lot easier. We own a business. If we need to do a Costco run of a large load, can we do that? If it's an essential business and you qualify to be operating, absolutely. Remember, social distancing. Chief, Wilo Homestead's house lots, this isn't mine, even though I live in the house lots. Wilo Homestead's house lots requesting more checkpoints or more checking of the, and why is the bill only $100?
Yeah, so we should be grateful that it's $100 because there was a bill in the legislature to essentially get rid of all bail. There would be no bail. I mean, it would just be you get arrested and you get out. And in some cases, I'm not saying that's you know, and it isn't appropriate, but it's set that way because it's a misdemeanor. And so, you know, I know that people would like to see us. I saw one that said $10,000 bail. It's only a $5,000 fine. But I know people would like to see it higher, but those bails have to be reasonable. That's what the Constitution says, that bail has to be reasonable. And so that's why.
Is there a process to report a quarantine violator?
Yeah, what we've done is I would just ask and refer people back to our post with the frequently asked questions. At the very end, there was a phone number there for the EOC, and people can call into the EOC. What we're working on now is, I'm going to use this term and let me define the term because people may find it a little bit offensive. The police department and first responders, fire department, CHEMA, we utilize what's called the National Incident Management System, and they use terminology in there. So all that terminology is always consistent. And so the folks that are working our checkpoints are called strike teams because that's what they're classified as. The strike team is just a group of one resource that is all the same. They're all KPD. And so we have strike teams, and what we're doing is we're building out the capacity to be able to respond to complaints and be proactive. And we have been, as you saw with the arrest today, as you saw with the citation to the business owner. And so I would just ask that first call that phone line on the EOC. They can also call the non-emergency number, the 241-1711.
1711. Yep, 1711. Okay. Another one for you, Chief. Can you ask Chief Raybuck if they ever plan to patrol beaches on ATVs? We still have visitors and residents sunbathing.
That hasn't been part of the plan yet. I'm not saying it won't be. What we're trying to do right now is get the most bang for our buck. You know, we recognize that there are a lot of beaches and a lot of parks where you may have 15, 20 people here or there. And that's not saying that we won't go there and begin enforcing. We certainly will. But what we've been trying to do really is focusing in on where do we have the most contact with people? Where do we have the most opportunity to educate people and to ask them to comply voluntarily? Where do we have the you know, I have limited resources. I can't put a police officer at every single beach, at every single intersection throughout the entire island, which is why I came on here tonight to just ask us to do our part. You know, I recognize that, again, that some of those are tourists, but not all of them are. And, you know, the tourists are going to be gone. Most of them are. I think statewide we had less than 800 tourists that have arrived this week, something to that effect, if you look at the HTA numbers. So we just got to do our part. And so sorry, I don't give short answers, Mel.
No, that's okay. I mean, you know, this is, and you mentioned it earlier. What we try to do is we try to get the information out so that the people can understand. And I think sometimes the longer answer it's easier to understand than a short, quick, let's get past this question so I can get to the next one. So I really appreciate the long answer for me anyway.
I'm going to play that message from you back to my wife. So the next time she says, how long is this story? I'm going to say it came right from Mel. Long answers are good answers.
Chief, do you know if I thought that the two people in a car, is that a prohibition? Two people in a car?
No,
I thought, go ahead.
So there was some confusion on that initially, and I don't want to misspeak because every day there's a little bit of a modification of the mayor's rules as we realize, or he realizes what the implications are. And so I think there's been a modification about the number of people in the cars, and that is to allow family members. I mean, you know, I'm in my house with my family, you're in your house with your family, whether we're quote unquote isolated as a family in my house or in my car, there's no risk there, or there's no different risk than being in the house or on four wheels. So I don't believe, I think that was modified, Mel, and I would just continue to tell people to go to kauai.gov, go to the mayor's red COVID-19 button that's in the upper left-hand corner, and you can see all of the rules that are there, as well as the emergency rules, the exceptions to those rules, the clarifications, because I get a lot of questions too myself.
Yeah, so do I. And, you know, I thought I had that rules memorized, but I know a few of them have been amended. Rule 5 has been amended. And I thought that the amendment was from basically a requirement to a recommendation. But whoever sent that question, I don't know who you are, shoot me a private message tonight on the messenger, and I will get that answer for you. I don't want to take a chance in leaving this screen with the delicate nature of Facebook Live. I don't want to do that and lose the connection. So send me the thing. Let me know who you are, and I'll get that for you.
Mel.
Apparently, the officer at the checkpoint said that they would need a letter from the mayor's office if they have to work. I read your Q&A paper last night, and it said it wasn't required, and that it was highly recommended that the employer would give your employee a note that they're an essential employee. So
yeah, we asked for that. Now it may become required if the mayor thinks that too many people are abusing, you know, his generosity.
I hope it does. Chief, I hope that the mayor makes it a requirement. I really do, because that's the only way. I was a cop. Charlie was a cop. What do you do? The guy says, hey, I'm going to work. I'm an essential worker. There's no way the cop, I mean, I understand you guys checkpoints, you guys do what, 500, 600, 700 cars a day?
Yeah.
I mean, how are you going to make a phone call every time somebody says, I'm going to go to work? It's just not practical, and it's not feasible. So like you said, Chief, you're asking for our help. We owe it to you folks to help you folks by following the rule. Charlie, did you have something to say, Charlie? I'm sorry.
Yes. You know that rule about the one or two people in the car? Can you do me a favor and just tell Stephanie right now it's only one car when I leave? Because I know the honeydew list, but just tell her. Yeah, I hope she's not watching, but just tell her only one car.
Patsy's texting her right now.
Oops.
Let's see. There's a question about the county providing mandatory quarantine location that will have 24-hour security. I do know that we have a county isolation facility. So if a visitor tests positive, they will go to a county facility, or a county managed facility. But everyone else will either be in the hospital, or if you're a resident, you either go to the hospital if you're too sick, or you will go home and isolate at home. Correct, Chief?
Correct. Yes. We stood up, or the county, I should say, stood up that isolation center very early on. And our first two cases, which were travelers, stayed there, fortunately recovered there, and then went home. And so, for obvious reasons, we don't disclose that location. But people are very well cared for. And as you mentioned, if you live here and you get sick, then our request is that you quarantine in your own home, and that's the best place for you. And so that's what the direction has been from the Department of Health and the mayor's office.
Okay, repeat the non-emergency number. That would be 241-1711.
Remember, I remember it this way. It's 1-711. All right, so think big gulp. 1-711.
Yeah, awesome. If a first responder gets exposed Will they get expedited testing if they start to get symptoms? Will they be forced to stay away from family?
So that's a good question. We have put protocols in place for that, and we continue to work on those protocols with the Department of Health. It really depends on what that exposure means. There's different types of exposures, right? There's a confirmed exposure, meaning that they had contact or someone in the community had contact with someone who's tested positive. That's a confirmed exposure. And then there are for lack of a better terms, concerning exposures. And a concerning exposure is somebody who may have some symptoms that are similar to COVID, but they haven't tested positive for it. And so we have a little bit different protocol in place for that. And so we fortunately our hotel industry has reached out to us and offered to assist us if we have first responders that need to be quarantined or need to be separated from family members if one of their family members gets sick. And so we're still working on this process, Mel. It's been going by so fast. There's been so many things. We've written so many different directives and done so much research in a short period of time to try to put this stuff in place. But yeah, I guess the short answer is we're putting those protocols in place, and it really depends on what type of exposure they actually have.
We got some good ones here. How about child custody agreements or orders where you have weekly drop-offs to co-parents? How's that? Is that still being done at the station under the lighted camera, or are we? You know anything about that?
Yeah, actually, that spot is, I shouldn't tell people, but it's right underneath my window. And so I just saw the other day, I actually took a picture of it, a custody transfer that took place under my window, because I appreciate that people are using that location. So if anybody does not know, we have an e-commerce, which is irrelevant right now because you shouldn't be doing e-commerce. But we also have a safe place for people to come for custody, because sometimes those get a little emotional and things are a little bit difficult in those scenarios. And we want to make sure that people have a safe place to do those transactions. So yes, people can still come to the police department over on Kaana Street. And there's a big yellow curb at the circle where the big tree is with the big sign that says safe place. And they can continue to do their child custodies there. I just want to remind people that the emergency order doesn't supersede the court orders that you have to follow for custody reasons. And so I would just remind people that, follow the rules and don't run afoul of other court orders.
I'm glad you answered that, because I did have a messenger communication last night. And of course I prefaced my response, but I'm not a lawyer, but I would not violate a court order because that will get you in trouble. So
judges don't like that, Mel.
Huh?
Judges don't like when people apply their orders.
Absolutely. So if obviously it's not a violation of the stay-at-home order if you're taking your child to do the co-parent drop-off, let's say at KPD at the safe zone, that is perfectly fine, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Who pays for the visitor's isolation costs? This may not be for you, Chief, because I heard it was the visitor is responsible for their own isolation costs. They got to pay for their own food. I don't know if they're at the county facility or the safe house. I'm not sure who pays.
I don't know either, Mel. It's not my kuleana.
Perfect. Same here. Can we go fishing to feed our family?
So yeah, Mayor Kawakami carved that out. And what that means is it's not a fishing party with your buddies and a case of beer. If you wanted to take your kids with you or something like that to fish, but it has to be for food. It can't just be because it's a personal outing to go out and make an excuse. The mayor recognized that there are families here that fishing and hunting are vital to putting food on the table. And he didn't want to limit that. And so he carved that out. But again, it has to be done. We're just asking for people to work the honor system and don't use the grace that the mayor has given you to take advantage of it.
From what I'm seeing and hearing, that it's going to end if we don't make some personal judgments, decisions, and change the way we're doing things. those few of you that are out there that are abusing this privilege, you're going to lose it for everybody. That's going to happen. And I hate to see that happen, because some people rely on that. Some people rely on fishing for their families. Some people rely on hunting to feed their families. Especially now, like you said earlier, Chief, there's a lot of people not working right now. A lot of people are struggling right now. So again, you know, just follow the rule. Can take a boy to night fishing for one family. That, again, same question. Again, sustenance. Still got to keep your separation, and don't abuse it. Just don't abuse it. Let's see. We got a lot of kudos to Kauai Police Department. Not too many questions, so apparently you're doing a good job. Your messages are getting out to the people. I apologize. I don't have that EOC number, but I will post it on my page tonight. As soon as we get done with this, I will post that contact number if you have any questions. But again, and I want to reiterate, we did this last night, like I told you, Chief, before we went on. We spent about 45 minutes last night going over your Q&A, that your dispatchers put up the most common questions that are being asked at 241-1711, and in some cases, even 911. People, I'll repeat it again tonight, because a lot of you weren't on last night because we were on YouTube instead of Facebook. Don't call 241-1711 if you have a question about fishing at night or can I go two in a car. Dispatch is there to keep track of our officers and make sure they're going where they need to go, and they get bombarded with these unnecessary questions. The questions, like I said, send it to me. I'll get it to the EOC. I'll put up the number tonight. So everybody, you write that down. And going forward, you call the right number and let our law enforcement officers protect us.
Hey, Mel, can I jump in about the dispatchers?
Please.
I know you talked about it last night. I just want to talk about it a little bit tonight. I want people to understand kind of what goes on in my dispatch center, because they may not know. First and foremost, they are the unseen, unsung heroes of the first responders. They are true first responders. They are the ones that get the first phone call for every emergency on this island. They answer the call for medical, they answer the call for fire, and they answer the call for police. And then on top of it, if there's a gas problem, they get that phone call. If there's a cable problem, they get that phone call. They get all those phone calls. And so what I'm just asking, and I just want to share that information, because when we say, please don't call the police department when there's an accident on the road, unless you're calling for information about, reporting an accident or something like that. When you start calling the police department and asking, is there an accident, or can I go to the grocery store, things like that, you tie up valuable time and resources for our dispatchers to answer 911 calls and non-emergency calls where somebody might have a crime in progress or need the police to respond. And so that's why the dispatchers put out the frequently asked question sheet. I appreciate you going over it in depth last night, but I just wanted your viewers tonight to realize they're working hard. You should have seen the look I got. I didn't tell anybody. I just felt the need to call in to Ron Wiley on Kong Radio. Unfortunately, he took my call. And it was the first day of our checkpoints, and I wanted everybody to know what we were doing. And I had a conversation with him for about 15, 20 minutes. And then I got back to the station, and it was basically, what did you say? Because the phones in dispatch are ringing off the hook. And so I had to go in there and apologize and say, look, I didn't say anything, but this is what we're doing, and this is why. And the looks that I got, whew, so please give my dispatchers a break and look for the answer somewhere else. Don't call them.
Yeah, we'll post that number up tonight. And then everybody, when information comes up, credible information, share it. You guys share everything else. When someone posts a number, that whether it's SBA SBA loan program or unemployment information program, legitimate information, share it out there so everybody sees it.
Hey, Mel.
Mel, I got we're gonna play Jeopardy.
Yeah, I got some private messages coming over, but someone said that they missed the part about the two persons in the car, so they wanted to know that answer.
Two people in a car?
Yes.
I mean, for what purpose? I guess, you know, it all comes down again. I think that's what we talked about earlier. I think the rule was amended and it was recommended rather than required. But again, two people going in a car to go gallivanting to go check the surf spots, that's a no-no.
No.
A no-no. If you got to take your child to the doctor, you got to take your mother-in-law, your grandma the kupuna to the store to go do shopping. You know, again, Chief, I don't know, maybe you want to say something, Charles. I know we talked about discretion. Right. You know, I know, Chief, we had this discussion a while back, and I may have been with the mayor, where our officers have discretion. And again, don't use the loophole. That's the message. Don't use the loopholes, because you might be able to. I mean, if you got to go somewhere with someone because it's essential and you have to do it, then you have to do it. The bottom line is, because you can stretch that rule and it could be interpreted as you can, don't do that. I mean, like I said, if you're gonna go fishing for sustenance in your family, you're gonna take your son to go fishing at night to go catch food, then it's fine. I cannot imagine an officer arresting a father and a son for going fishing at night if it's for sustenance. I mean, Chief, what are your thoughts?
Right. You know, you hit it, is discretion, and what, you know, just what we're asking is, I said it earlier, I'll say it again. The goal isn't to write a bunch of tickets. The goal is not to arrest people. The goal is to get people to voluntarily comply with the mayor and the governor's orders. And so the only people that can do that are the people that are making the decision before they leave their house. So, you know, before you leave the house, you got to ask yourself, listen, I'm an ice cream guy, on top of the cookie guy. I'm going to divulge all my secrets here. And I ran out of ice cream. And, you know, that's not essential. My wife has a whole list of honeydews for me. And this weekend, she asked me to go to Home Depot and get some stuff. I said, is the best answer I could ever. It's not essential. Sorry, I can't do that, honeydew. I can't fix that. It's not essential. And so, you know, it got me out of a little bit of work around the house. I don't know how long that's going to last. But the reality is, we just need people to really ask themselves, what is essential? You know, the thing that we had to make a difficult decision going into spring break. Now, as you guys all know, we moved here from Vegas. My mom's still there. My wife's parents are still there. The grandparents are there. The kids' grandparents are there. And so my kids were excited for the first time in a year. They were going to go back to Vegas for spring break and see their kids. And 10 p.m., less than 12 hours before they were supposed to leave, I sat my kids down and said, I'm sorry, you can't go. Vegas has got some problems. There's too much of a threat. And the last thing I want to do is to put you on an airplane and for you to not know you're sick and then get your grandparents sick and you don't even know it until you come home. And then we lose somebody we love because we thought it was okay. So I'm just asking people, before you leave the house, you got to ask yourself, you're not worried about yourself. Who are you worried about? Who do you come in contact with every single day that isn't important enough to you to make a little bit of a sacrifice? And if we could all just ask that question before we left the house, who's most important to me and who am I willing to put at risk? Whose life am I willing to put at risk by going to the grocery store for ice cream or Home Depot for this or that? It will reframe, I think, your decision-making, because it has mine.
Couple of questions, and I know we are going to be wrapping up shortly, but what happens if a same person gets arrested the second time for a quarantine violation or a curfew violation or a stay-at-home violation?
They get arrested again, and that time the bail is probably going to be higher.
Okay. So, yeah, alrighty. Would you consider activating help from the Citizens Police Academy?
You know, we've talked a lot about what volunteers we might be able to use. It really depends. That may be something, and we are looking at what we might need to do down the road. As I said earlier in this program, I'm very concerned about, you know, sustaining my workforce. If this goes on and community spread starts to impact my ability to put police officers out on the street. And so we are considering different ways. But the thing that I have to also consider in that is, am I putting vulnerable people at risk too. Mm-hmm. And so there's some other options for us out there. You know, there's just other options for us right now. It's not off the table. Nothing's off the table if I need it.
That's the thing you talked about earlier. You guys are like pioneers. You know, we're learning every day. We're adjusting every day. We're tweaking every day. Well, tweaking is a bad word. We're tweaking the policies every day. And so yeah, we don't know. There's no roadmap that happened, you know, before. There was one issue. I know Charlie's gonna blow up on this one, and I'm gonna ask this question. I'll let you two have some fun with it.
Interview Mike first, then, because he already said he can't contain himself. He can't stop.
I'm almost afraid to bring this up because I know his passion, but I think it's good for the people in it, and it's a question. That's why I'm bringing it up. Otherwise, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but because it's a question. And again, thank you all for jumping on and asking the questions and participating. All of you out there in Facebook land, engaging in the discussion. That's the whole plan. And I'm going to ask this question. Charlie, you guys are going to have the debate. I'm going to run to my other computer and get that rule and get this 2 in a car thing resolved once and for all. Okay. Here we go. Why can't there be a timeline and more information about where infected people went?
Yeah. Well, Charlie, I'm going to let you. Can I go first? Because I know I've heard you, and this is going to be a long answer. I know your passion, and I know that you want us to tell you, you want the Department of Health to tell you. I'll give you the short answer, as short as I can make it. It doesn't matter where they're at, because they're not where you are. The most important thing is that we know where we're at and what our actions are. If somebody is quarantined, and I know, Charlie, I've heard you, you know, you've talked a lot about being able to track where these individuals are and were they here where we could may have been in contact with them and maybe we could have picked up the virus, and we should know that. The reality is the mayor has said it, and other people have said it, we should be treating everybody that we talk to, every place we go, as if it's got the virus. Because that could be the reality. So it's irrelevant where the people that we've tested are or where they may have been, because as everybody knows already, there's a strong potential that we have people who are already all over the place and could potentially, if you've seen those graphs where one person can infect 2, can infect 7, can affect 356, when you see those grow out, by the way, that's not a true fact. That's just me articulating kind of what I've seen. So don't quote me on that. But we got to treat everywhere we go as if somebody who's been infected has been there. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Don't stand next to somebody for more than you have to. Keep your 6 feet of distance. That's the most important piece in all of this. And we get hung up on wanting to know where somebody is. So, Charlie, there's my answer. Now you can unleash on yours, buddy.
Well, I think the reason why I asked that question is because I get inundated with, you know, I think the message you're trying to get out, I would say right now, is admirable. But if I put something out there on the air, Chief, it's like, yeah, I thought about it too. And then all of a sudden there's a cascade of questioning that falls in line with that. So I think for myself, and it's like a puzzle, if I limit movement, that's one. So then you know exactly you went from point A to point B. But there are some individuals out there that again, it's all about the messaging. It's all about the branding, how we send the message out there. And that is, well, I know I went points A, B, C, D. All they want to know is if this person was along that corridor of point A, B, C, D. So yes, social distancing, washing of hands, all of that. But some individuals, well, I got to say a lot. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of individuals, when they wrote in, were really concerned about that. So I come from the viewpoint that if I can catch the messaging the first time around, and it's almost like when I'm on stage playing a song. If I don't know the verse the first time or the chord progression the first time, I make sure that I hold back and I watch it come around so then I can pick up the second time without having to stop the band. So that's the way I'm gonna paint this. So because we're on air now, we can allow the people to know that, hey, the chief has answered. And I know a lot of you have asked, why isn't, it been made public? We don't need to know who these people are. We don't need to know where they're quarantined. We just want to know if they came from the airport and went straight to the hotel, fine. But if they went and they gave a bunch of names and the investigators talked to everybody that may have come in contact, that's fine too. But at the same token, if he was at Rob's, that individual is only talking about who he knows by name. He doesn't know anybody else around. So if he said that, oh, I was at Rob's or I was at Tip Top at a certain time between time and time, then individuals will start policing themselves and say, oh boy, without getting too crazy, so that should something go awry with, like a sniffle or two, you might ask yourself, yeah, I better go and just get checked out. Maybe I won't get tested, but let my doctor figure this thing out. Something like along those lines. So I think that's why Mel, and Mel, he's smart. He's going to you debate, and then he digs out. And
now he comes back.
And then he comes back when it's all done. Well, Mel, you missed out. We had a really good debate, and we came to our consensus, and then the people got the answers.
Awesome. Well,
Charlie, let me just finish up with what you said.
Yeah.
In the early stages of this virus, it's easier to go, okay, where did case one go to, and then try to track down that person movements. But if you think about, Charlie, when you're active out in, how many places do you stop? How many people do you have contact with? How many things do you touch? The tracking of that becomes so burdensome. It exponentially increases every time another person is infected, which is why the message is, don't get caught up on where this person is or where this person was. Treat every single place where you go as if somebody with COVID is there. That's the only way we can protect ourselves. It's irrelevant where they were, because we can't track that. There's no way to track every single movement from everybody, where they sneezed, where they touched, just please wash your hands. Stay at home. That's the easiest way. If you're worried about, where was somebody that was sick, stay home. That's all you need to know. Mel, you're on mute, buddy.
Is that Mel?
Oh yeah, it's me. We're gonna screenshot that part when you said "stay home." I love it. That's all you gotta do. And then there's another question: Can we pick up food for our animals from different places? Absolutely, you can take care of your animals. You have to really take care of your animals. I'm just gonna go through real quick here to make sure. I know, Chief, we're going on an hour and 15 minutes, so we're going to be wrapping up, but I just want to make sure there's a lot of compliments. There's a lot of, not too many questions. So,
because you answered them all last night.
No, I tell you, our message has been, just stay home. That's what
No, let's get this correct, Mel. I think tonight we brought a different dimension.
Well, we brought the gun, the big gun, the
yes.
Dad low.
You and I, Mel. You and I, Mel. Right now, we're just a water gun, so we have to bring in the big guns. So
Charles,
right.
Charles, yeah. Chief, you got your ukulele, Chief?
You know what? I don't have mine. I've got my son's.
Go grab a ukulele, because for those of you that weren't here last night, you weren't here last night. So Charlie and I came up with this, and now we got. Look at that. He's got a nice kamaka right there. Looks like.
Yeah, look at this. Is actually my son's. This is his first ukulele he bought himself.
An 8-string?
Yeah, 8-string, 1970 kamaka.
Oh, my God. 8-string. As a beginner?
He saved up all his money, and he wanted to have a real piece of history. And so he said, hey, it's my birthday coming up, and I want to buy my own ukulele. And so he picked this up. So I don't know what I'm.
Was he playing before that? Before he bought it?
Yeah. So he actually started playing 3 years ago in Vegas. He picked it up. He played Somewhere Over the Rainbow for me at my swearing in.
I heard that. It was very nice. So, yes.
I'm going to actually repost that on my social media in a few weeks, because that was was the proudest moment of my day. I mean, I was very proud to become the chief of police of Kauai, but I was even more proud that my son played ukulele and my niece sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow because it's such a special song.
Did you cry?
Yeah, I did. I cried.
Okay, that's good. Anyway, so we came up with this, you know, because we got so tired of banging people about flattening the curve. You got to flatten the curve. And for those of you, hey, we're going to be on for a little. If you got questions, send it now because we'll be wrapping up in about a few minutes. We'll be done. So if you have any more last minute questions, shoot it over. Pat will get it to me. But until then, we're figuring out what can we do to flatten the curve. And oh, they want us to play Hawaii 7/8. See, you're missing the point.
Oh, you
Hawaii
know,
yeah. So we figured that as Charlie and I was jamming earlier yesterday, we figured if we cannot flatten the curve by going out and asking people to help us and help you, Chief, then we are going to flatten the curve by just playing some flat music. Flat like, oh, Chief. Now I gotta, no, it's okay. I'm gonna text you that later. But anyway, you guys ready? 1, 2, 3. No song. We're just gonna play rotten music. And
music. That's my kind of music. That's all I can play is rock music.
Yeah. And then Charlie's gonna lead us out. Ready, Charlie?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, just strum away.
Yeah, just strum away, gang.
This is what's
Anybody
gonna happen.
in TV land, just join us.
If we don't flatten the curve,
we're gonna flatten your ears. Yes.
You see, Chief, we figured we'll come out every single night, and the message is the same. Let's all work this together. We're in this together. We ain't gonna get out of it if we're not together. So we wanna try to little bit of entertainment, but the message is clear. We gotta flatten this curve as quick as we can.
Yes.
It ain't gonna happen unless every single person. How you, buddy? How's it going, man?
He's gonna play us out when it's time.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, Mel, yeah. Can I tell the Chief one thing? You know, Chief, I know you were watching last night, but I want everybody again to know one thing. Our police department is there to protect us. So when they're on the roadblock, please practice. If you're going in the opposite direction of that roadblock, move over. Practice that move over one lane because there's too many times the officers' backs are towards that traffic because they're working the line. And some of you that I've seen get so close and you think it only takes that split second to jerk that wheel. And guess what? You're going to nail the people that are protecting us. So please do us a favor. Move over if can. If you have to go onto the shoulder of the roadway on the opposite side, please do so. Give that safety zone to the roadblock. They're there for a purpose.
Thank you. Checkpoint, not a roadblock.
Yep.
Checkpoint.
Yeah, checkpoint. I'm sorry, checkpoint.
Knock it off, Charles.
Yes.
Right now? Oh, Shiloh Pa, Troy Wale, all of the musicians, the local musicians are actually online right now. So we ain't playing no more music. Your boy can play.
And let him play. Let him play. Take us out now.
He will. But I do want to, just because Patsy mentioned it, I want to thank Troy and Shiloh and Mackie and everybody that has given John Mahi. We're competing with John Mahi tonight. I don't know if you know that.
Yes.
Fingers Raposo and Kapena on Oahu and Sean Nawal. All of you guys that have taken the time to come do some free concerts for everyone. I tell you, much appreciated. God bless you all. But anyway, Chief, any final comments before we head out? And yeah, your son will play us out. But
no, I just thank you very much for the public service that you've done here, Mel, by inviting me on and letting me do this. My son is questioning why I just threw him out here in front of Facebook to do this. Come on over here so they can see you and just play for a minute. Just play something. It'll be anything is better than what Mel and I just did. So you're not gonna let anybody down. So this is Connor, the kid that got me interested in playing ukulele. So Connor,
right on.
The floor is yours, buddy.
Charlie, any final closing comments before we allow Connor to play us out of here?
No, just be safe, follow the rules, stay home unless it's necessary that you have to go and do something. But for the most part, help us, help everyone, help Kauai. Let's do our part to stop the spread.
And I'll just say we're blessed to be on Kauai with the leadership we got, with the chief and our mayor and our administrative team and everybody else. We just got the best right now. The numbers prove it. We cannot do this without everybody cooperating. I know you're sick and tired of hearing that. We need to get to the other side of the curve as soon as possible. Social distancing, washing your hands. Just stay home. Just stay home. Just stay home. All right, Connor, get us out of here, buddy. Thank you all. Love you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. I don't know who the mystery guest will be. It'll be somebody.
Hey, Mel, he's better than us, Mel.
I know he's better than me. I got to tell you.
Good night, fellas.
Okay.
Night, hey, just real quick. That Kamaka is worth a fortune. I don't know what he paid for it, but that Kamaka is worth a fortune.
Worth a fortune.
1,600.
What did he say?
Stupid kids. He didn't say anything.
I got to go back and listen to the tape. Hello, everybody. Good night. We see you guys tomorrow night. God bless. We love you guys.
Aloha.
Aloha.